I did not scream when she said it. I did not argue. I did not defend myself. I did not remind her whose hands mixed the cement beneath her feet. Instead, I smiled. And that smile confused everyone in the room. Because at that exact moment, when my son's wife shouted, "This house will be mine now," she thought she had won. She didn't know that I had already made a decision. A decision that would leave her speechless. A decision that would change my son forever. A decision that would cost me my house, but save my dignity. If you think this is a story about revenge, you're wrong. This is a story about silence. About pride. About respect. And about the day a 60-year-old man realized that sometimes the strongest move you can make is to walk away before they push you out. Welcome to my YouTube channel Whisper Stories, where silence speaks. My name is Addison, and I am 60 years old. At 60, a man believes he has already faced the worst storms life can throw at him. He thinks betrayal is something that happens in movies, not in living rooms he painted with his own hands. He believes that if he has given everything to his family, they will at least give him respect in return. He is wrong. The day my son's wife screamed, "This house will be mine now," I was standing in the hallway holding a small toolbox. I remember the weight of it in my hand. I remember the way sunlight cut across the wooden floorboards I had polished for years. But most of all, I remember the silence that followed her words. Not the silence in the room. The silence inside me. And that silence changed everything. The house I built. I built that house when I was 35. Back then my hands were strong and my back didn't ache every morning. I worked double shifts at the factory, sometimes triple. I drove trucks on weekends. I fixed roofs in the summer heat just to save enough money to pour the foundation. It wasn't a mansion, it wasn't even modern, but it was mine. The bricks were red, slightly uneven. The porch creaked when you stepped on the second plank from the left. The backyard had a mango tree I planted the day my son Daniel was born. My wife Margaret used to say, "This house breathes because you built it with love." She passed away 8 years ago. After that, the house didn't just breathe. It remembered. Every wall held her laughter. Every corner carried her scent. The kitchen still felt warm in the evenings, as if she had just stepped away from the stove. I stayed because leaving would have meant losing her twice. My son, Daniel, was my only child. He was born on a rainy night. I remember holding him in the hospital and promising Margaret that I would give him everything I never had. And I did. I gave him education. I gave him comfort. I gave him the bedroom with the window facing east so he could wake up with sunlight. When Margaret passed, he cried in my arms like he had when he was 5 years old. That night I told him, "This house will always be yours." I meant it as love, not surrender. Clara. Daniel married Clara 3 years ago. She was beautiful in a way that demanded attention. She spoke confidently, she dressed sharply, she knew what she wanted and she wanted it quickly. At first I was happy for Daniel. He seemed proud, protective. She made him laugh. After the wedding, they moved into the upstairs rooms. I told them to save money, to build their future before thinking about buying their own place. I never imagined that my kindness would be mistaken for weakness. The small changes. The first sign was furniture. My old wooden cabinet, the one Margaret and I bought during our first year of marriage, was outdated. Clara said it with a smile. "It doesn't match the vibe, Dad." She called me Dad, but it felt more like a title than affection. "We'll replace it with something modern." The cabinet disappeared the next day. Then came the curtains, then the paintings, then Margaret's tea set, too old-fashioned, Clara said as she packed it into a box. I said nothing. I told myself this is what families do, they adjust. But adjustment slowly turned into erasure. The realtor. The day everything changed, I came home earlier than usual. The front door was open. Inside, a well-dressed man stood in my living room with a clipboard. Clara was walking him through the space. "Yes, the structure is solid," she was saying. "We're planning renovations, maybe even a resale in a year." Resale? My ears rang. Daniel stood awkwardly by the staircase, silent. When Clara saw me, her expression tightened. "This is my father-in-law," she said to the man casually. "He lives here." "Lives here. Not owns. Lives." The man nodded politely and left soon after. I turned to Daniel. "What is this?" He shifted uncomfortably. "We were just exploring options." "Options," I repeated. Clara stepped forward. "It's time to think practically. This house has potential, and eventually it will belong to us anyway." "Eventually," I said slowly, "does not mean now." Her face hardened. And then she said it. Loudly. Sharp enough to cut through the air. "This house will be mine now." The silence. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. At 60, you realize something important. Noise rarely wins respect. Instead, I placed my toolbox on the table. "Daniel," I said calmly, "is that what you think too?" He hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than her scream. "We just want security, Dad," he said quietly. Security. I had worked 40 years for that word. And suddenly I was the threat to it. The decision. That night I didn't sleep. I walked from room to room. I touched the walls, the kitchen counter, the doorframe with Daniel's height marks still faintly visible. I realized something painful. I loved my son. But I was slowly disappearing in my own home. The next morning, I called my old friend Thomas, a lawyer. "Can I sell my house?" I asked him. "Of course," he replied, "it's in your name." That sentence felt like oxygen. The sale. I didn't announce it immediately. I quietly contacted a realtor of my own. The market was good, the location desirable. Within 2 weeks, I had a serious buyer. A retired couple, they loved the mango tree. When I told Daniel and Clara that the house was under contract, the reaction was explosive. "You can't do this," Clara shouted. "I just did," I replied. Daniel looked betrayed. "Where will we go?" "You are young," I said gently. "You can build your own house like I did." Clara's face turned pale. "You're punishing us." "No," I said, "I'm protecting myself." Leaving. On the day I left, I packed only what mattered. Margaret's photograph. A few clothes. My old toolbox. As I walked out, I paused at the doorway. Clara stood in the living room, arms crossed. Daniel looked lost. I didn't feel anger. Only clarity. "You thought this house would be yours," I said softly, "but a house is not taken by force, it is earned with sacrifice." Then I handed Daniel an envelope. Inside was a bank check, a generous portion of the sale. "I am not leaving you empty-handed," I told him, "but you will build your own foundation." I stepped out, and I did not look back. The aftermath. I moved into a small apartment near the park. It was quiet, simple, peaceful. For the first time in years, I felt light. Weeks passed. Daniel called one evening. "Dad," he said, voice heavy, "we fought. Clara didn't expect you to actually sell. She thought you were bluffing." "I don't bluff," I replied. "She says you embarrassed her." Did she ever think about how I felt? Silent. Then Daniel whispered, "I'm sorry." Those 2 words carried more weight than the entire house. The real lesson. Months later, Daniel visited alone. He looked older, humbled. "We rented a small place," he said. "It's harder than I thought." I nodded. He looked around my apartment. "It's nice here." "It's peaceful," I corrected. He sat beside me. "I didn't stand up for you," he admitted. "I was afraid of conflict." I placed my hand on his shoulder. A man who cannot protect respect cannot protect anything else. He lowered his eyes. "I'm learning," he said. "That's enough," I replied. The moral. At 60 years old, I learned something I wish I had understood earlier. Love does not mean surrender. Kindness does not mean weakness. And silence, when chosen wisely, can be the loudest answer of all. A house is built with bricks, but a home is built with respect. If respect leaves, the home is already gone. I did not sell my house out of anger. I sold it to keep my dignity. And dignity, once protected, gives you something no building ever could. Peace. Today, when I walk through the park in the mornings, I no longer carry the weight of walls on my shoulders. I carry something lighter. Self-respect. My name is Addison. I am 60 years old. And sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is walk away.